how to feel appreciated and accept help when you feel you can't trust anyone. So thank you absolutely for joining me. It's not easy for an intuitive sensitive person to feel appreciated or even accept help or easily trust. Now, there is a reason for this, and that reason is because you are exceptionally good-natured, and that exceptional good nature has been taken advantage of. Now, this might have been for years. For years you may have wondered why you deserve the treatment that you've received. And for an intuitive sensitive, that is deeply painful. It's something that doesn't leave it may leave your mind, but it doesn't leave your body. It's something that you continually feel and wonder what it is you've done in order to deserve that. So you also maybe wonder what it is that you've done that sometimes that can be that awful. It warrants such an offensive rant. You may have been on the receiving end of that at some stage or another, or even why people you help turn around and bite you later. So just to quickly explain how that works, or how that sits for you as an intuitive sensitive. Now, looking at this is the tree of life that sits behind me. You probably may be wondering what on earth this is, but it's a great way. The tree of life is something that's thousands of years old. It's a great way of explaining certain things, especially from your perspective. Why? Because as an intuitive sensitive, you like to have the feel of things. It's not necessarily something that you just listen to and digest. It's something you need to sometimes have a feel of. So this helps to give the feel of something. So when you have been on the receiving end, as an example, of when you've helped someone. Now, as an intuitive sensitive, that is something that you do a lot of. And sometimes it is over-pleasing, and sometimes it is just because you're that kind of person, because you feel things deeply, because you have a strongly empathic nature, because your nervous system is more alive than the average person. You will find that you have a natural inclination towards assisting and helping others. So why do people turn around and bite you later that you've helped en route? Well, if we look at the tree of life as a way of explaining that. Now, this here is the 7 vibration. I'm not going to go too far into that, but as we can see it in just everyday life, if you imagine this is your feelings, this is kind of the mental thought processes, and this is you in the everyday world, and you have this as the number 9, as the subconscious going on in the middle of things. Now this triangle here, forget sort of the rest of this is kind of going deeper into yourself, the soul, etc., and beyond. But if you look at it from this perspective, the tree of life, as I say, is thousands of years old. So how does this, feeling that someone bites you when you've helped them? Well, imagine yourself as a feeling person, the 7. Okay, so you like to assist people, you like to help them. You have always been like that. You've always been thoughtful at some level or another. You've always been someone who's been thoughtful as far as things are concerned. Now, when you see someone here, which is, if we look at this as the drama dynamic, so the Karpman drama triangle, if we look at this as the drama dynamic, and we look at this here as someone in their everyday world, so you can look at this as the victim. Okay, so when someone is wronged, and you're great at helping people who've been wronged. So let's say this is someone who's been wronged here, and this is you in your feelings person of how can you help out? How can you help solve it? Well, what happens if you rescue someone and rescue a victim who doesn't want to be rescued? At some level or another, they want to keep things as it is, because they have some level of understanding of who they are. What do they switch into? Well, in terms of the drama triangle, they switch into this, which is the persecutor energy. Okay, so this is, in terms of a 3-way dynamic, this is the persecutor. So what do? You rescue, this is you, rescuing someone who feels like they, in something in life that they feel a victim of. And then a victim who doesn't want to be rescued, as in they want you to keep holding them up. And when you put them down, as in not put them down, but you sort of put them down to find their own feet, they don't like it. They still want to be held up. And they turn round and bite you as that persecutor. And that dynamic goes round and round and round and round in your life shown in different formats in different people. Now, what's in the middle of that? We have the 9. Okay, so that 9 is your subconscious. That subconscious pattern runs around inside of you. Now, this dynamic, which is the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim, also happens in terms of your personal self as well. It doesn't have to be other people, as in people in your external world. It can also happen within yourself as well. So you've got this constant round of part of you rescuing you, part of you feels, oh, and then the other part says what tells you off for being rescued, to put it in simple terms. So all of this hurts deeply, and it hurts you as an intuitive sensitive because your body feels it. It feels it as a rawness, and it feels it as an emotion that you can't escape. That's really strong as far as you're concerned. I remember years ago feeling that rawness to the extent that I had to brace myself to leave the house. We feel that rawness as intuitive sensitives really deeply and personally inside. And so every time we come across situations where we think we might be walking into this kind of dynamic, this kind of energy, we almost have to brace ourselves to go out into that, or to find ourselves in that space. And I did that. I went through those years of that rawness, feeling that I had to pretty much brace myself every time I went out because my sensitivity was so high. And that was where my immune system then decided to collapse, to the extent that I developed multiple autoimmune diseases, disorders and diseases. So that pressure on our system isn't just something, being sensitive and over dramatic. It is something that is very real to us as intuitive sensitives. We feel things at that kind of level, and if you felt things at that kind of level, that rawness, for a long period of time, you can imagine what it does in terms of your body and your system and everything that goes with it. So for me, that rawness of bracing yourself before you step out into the world and feeling it to the extent where the immune system went, I don't think so. No one knew about it. Okay, no one knew about it because I still carried on to the outside world as though nothing was wrong. No, nothing's wrong here. No, just carry on. And we do that as intuitive sensitives. And I can absolutely tell you right now, that's something that you've been doing. Also, help. What help? Never accept help. Absolutely, don't accept help. That's a dangerous thing to do. We don't do that as intuitive sensitives. So not so long ago, for me, I paced all night with excruciating kidney stones. And why did I do that? All night. I'm not kidding. All night I paced. I tried everything. And if you've ever had anything like that, kidney stones, it is absolutely excruciatingly painful that sleep is definitely not an option. And it's a bizarre pain. It's so extraordinarily high that your body just kind of kicks in this adrenaline thing, where I paced all night, not kidding, all night. And I did that. I paced all night with excruciating pain, with kidney stones, because I didn't want to disturb anyone by going to hospital. And you think, how ridiculous is that? Well, we all do it as intuitive sensitives at some level or another. All the time, I got stuck, literally got stuck in the street, unable to move, because I went out too soon after major abdominal surgery. Why did I go out after such surgery? Because I didn't want to inconvenience anyone. Today, I'm not saying that my ability to accept help is perfect, but it's massively better. And all my immune system issues are in hand now because I have that in a manageable place. There's no kidney stones, and I'll never be that daft again surgery-wise. So, who are you? How do you fit in? Well, you are an intuitive sensitive, and we all do the things as intuitive sensitive similar to what I do, obviously, maybe, or have done rather, maybe not to that extreme. And what we're really going to be looking at is a lot of those things that I've learned as far as quite extreme scenarios are concerned, in how we get to that place where we accept feeling appreciated without feeling guilty, that we can accept help, and we learn how to trust, even though we really don't. So you, as an intuitive sensitive, who are you? Who am I? Who am I? I don't know who you are, Heidi. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you were born with a sensitized nervous system. And that sensitized nervous system is over and above the norm. You are naturally perceptive, you are empathetic, you are caring, and you feel the emotions of other people as though they are your own. Okay, so you feel those deeply as your own. Now, you sometimes overgive. I say sometimes, it's probably quite often. You people please, and you've been known to work too much. You may have even worked so hard that you've exhausted your system, and you've applied a pressure to your immunity, developed such things as chronic fatigue, allergies, or a delicate stomach. All are very indicative of an intuitive, sensitive life. You may even have pushed it to the extent that you have autoimmune related issues. Now, though, you're an awake person, okay? But you need to solve this problem of when to give, when to receive, and how to know that you can trust. So in this session, you will learn why you abide by the rules you didn't make or agree with. You'll want to know that because as an intuitive sensitive, you're very loyal and you feel things deeply. Your sensitized nervous system dictates this. So abiding by the rules that don't match you paralyzes your life moving forward. Now, the next thing that you'll learn is the mental checklist for you to follow that tells you when someone is truly genuine. Okay, you want to know that because as an intuitive sensitive, you're normally highly perceptive. And you'll say, well, am I an intuitive sensitive? I'm not sure, Heidi. I'm not really that perceptive. How come I get these things wrong? Well, normally you are. And it's so normal to you that you just take it kind of in your stride. But everybody else says, oh, yes, you're very perceptive. You understand things and you get things quickly. So if you're that perceptive, how come? Why? You certainly wonder why. You've met some real wrong uns. And at times that you've done your best to keep them in your life. Now, those wrong ones don't have to be just as far as romantic relationships are concerned. Those are friendships. Sometimes they're even family dynamics. And you think, oh, why do I meet some of these people, these wrong ones, and that I've done my best to keep them in my life. I've done my best to adjust enough so that they feel that they don't need to aggravate me, to belittle me, to make me feel uncomfortable. I do my best to please them, but it never seems to be adequate or enough. And you now are at that stage, otherwise you certainly wouldn't be watching this right now, where you think, well, why? What am I doing this for? Why? You've cottoned onto it, you've thought about it, and now you've got to that place where it's difficult to trust. We've all done it. We've all done it. We've all come across those wrong uns, even though you're very aware that that you're perceptive and you can't understand why. Therefore, you've invited these situations into your life. Okay, so you'll understand what that's about. So the next thing you also learn is what feeling appreciated looks like without feeling guilty for enjoying it. You want to know that because as an intuitive sensitive, you brush off feeling appreciated as though you're not really that important. The fact is, if you don't know how to solve these issues, you'll learn the very hard way, like I had to. So, the reason I'm here, the reason I'm talking to you, is because the reason I do these sessions, regardless, is to give you some insight into going through these things or understanding these things, so you don't have to go through some of the experiences that I have as an intuitive sensitive, that you start to recognize some of the things. We have recognized some of those things, and when they show up, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to me right now. And you've thought, well, why does this keep happening? What can I do about it? I'm a decent person and I'm a nice person, so why? What? How do I stop these things from happening? I try not to take these things too personally, but actually I'm beginning to feel it's personal. And I do these sessions, these kind of things, for you to feel that there is, there's a scenario where someone gets you and kind of gets some of those experiences that you've had. What I tell you, and certainly how I tell you to solve these things, it's not just a theory, it's not just an idea. Everything that I talk about, everything that I do, is I've been through that experience and I've been through a way of solving it. Okay, so I share this with you because I like to be who I would have liked to have had when I was going through those scenarios or situations, or when I was trying to understand those life paths and the reasons for them. So, my motivation is to offer you something that, if you take one piece of information away from what I say, the time that you have given up to listen to me, to watch me in this presentation, if you take one piece, if one person takes one piece and that they find that very helpful in their life, that gives them an answer for something, or it gives them a way to move something forward, then every moment of that session is 100% worth it. That's why I'm here, and that's why I like to help in these scenarios, and give you possibilities of recognizing ways and means to solve these things. Why? Because I am extremely intuitive sensitive. I'm an extreme intuitive sensitive. I feel things in a very strong way, in a way that, yes, I do feel people's thoughts and feelings all the time, and yes, sometimes it is highly invasive, and sometimes it is about feeling things that I don't necessarily want to feel, and the person doesn't have to be in my vicinity. I can feel it a long way off. And like you, at some stages in your life, you would have done the same. You would have thought, what's going on as far as that's concerned? And then you either phone up, or you find out, or something comes in your life that reflects that. You feel things, as I do. Perhaps you haven't refined that, so you don't notice it as much as what would be helpful to you, because you think that it's something that you're directing towards yourself, rather than realizing that some of these things, a lot of these things, come from outside of you, and you recognize them and you feel them because of that very perceptive nervous system. Okay, so I show you these things and ways to solve them, so that you don't have to learn the hard way like I did, where your health starts to go to the point that it's difficult to recover. Okay, it can, I'm not saying this to frighten you, it's a reality that your health can be impacted to the extent that it's difficult to recover. So some of these things, it's good for you to understand, so that you are at that point where you can choose perhaps to do things slightly differently, so that you either bring yourself back to a place of feeling in your own space, not invaded by everybody else's, but also some of those things, those stress factors are relieved, so that you don't have to experience them anymore in your body. Also, and how, how this works in terms of your health starting to go to the point where it's difficult to recover, you also find that you push the really decent people away, leaving room for the bad ones, sometimes because you don't feel that you're worthy of it, and worthy of those high grade situations. And that won't be on a conscious level, that will be on a subconscious level. Okay, because part of you thinks that your job in life is to solve everybody else's things, issues, will be absolutely there for them regardless of how they treat you. And perhaps that has been something that's occurred over a long period of time, hence the reason it's difficult to trust. Okay, and certainly why it's exceptionally difficult to feel that you can accept help, because there must be some kind of consequence, must be some kind of payback as far as that's concerned, and you can't be doing with bracing yourself for that particular time. And if you don't solve these things, you'll start to stall to the point of feeling, paralyzingly stuck. Okay, so you'll feel this paralyzing stuckness where you're afraid to go forward because you're not sure what you're going to move into, and you'll be afraid to go back because you certainly don't want to go back back into something that's uncomfortable. So you end up somewhere in between, and that's very uncomfortable. I had to painfully shake my life up in order to recover. If I had done really what I'm about to show you, I would have saved myself a lot of permanent issues, and ones that will never go away. Okay, I learned too late to make those some of those issues as permanent ones go away. So I do now what I do absolutely to give you something I would have absolutely very much liked to have received, to give me those opportunities at that particular time. And as I said earlier, I am now the person who I would have liked to have met en route. And part of certainly the instance of coming to terms with the fact that you have this delicate and highly charged nervous system is, in actual fact, using that in very positive ways. Because absolutely, in my world now, I wouldn't change a thing. There's been a lot of hard lessons, but the fact is, I wouldn't change a thing, because I wouldn't change my high levels of intuitive sensitivity, because I use them, and I use them in a way that is authentic with the self, authentic as far as other people are concerned. What you see right here is what you get. There isn't anything else. I'm not, I don't hide stuff. I'm not hiding anything. I am who I am. And you either like me or you don't. Simple as that. I've learned that en route, and I've learned to be very much at peace with that. So, this session is very much about you starting to feel that you have that, or to expand upon that. Maybe you've already got some of those feelings and you think, should I feel guilty for that? Or can I expand on that? So when I started out, there was no one. Okay, there was absolutely no one. No one around me at all. Now I am surrounded with only, and I mean I am surrounded only with high quality relationships. I don't have anything or anyone in my life who is a pain in the backside or something that is disruptive or unpleasant. I used to have that very much in my life, and I don't now, because the inner rules have changed. And I'm going to give you an insight into how you adjust some of those inner rules. Okay, so let's get started. So number one, why do you abide by rules that you didn't agree with? Or part of the reason, so why did you abide by rules that you didn't make, and certainly that you don't agree with? Okay, so part of the reason you cannot trust or have or that you've trusted and that you've been very let down is because you abide by rules you didn't make or agree with. Okay, so how did that happen? The loudest rule in your inner world, and certainly in this drama dynamic, is what love looks like. Okay? That rule is buried deep in your unconscious. Okay, so that rule of what love looks like and how you interact and how you do stuff, how you please, how you operate, that rule is buried deep in your unconscious. So who made that rule of what love looks like? Well, who made that rule is that rule that's sat in here, that sits in here, stored in here, and filters into your everyday world and your experience of life, and some of those things where it's really quite uncomfortable. That rule, as in, what does love look like? Of course, you've got an idea of what love looks like in terms of your everyday, your outer world. You know, well, love looks like this, love is this, love is that, love is unconditional, love is that. But the rule is in here. Okay, so that rule you didn't make and you don't agree with. And that rule has been passed through the generations, okay? And it's silently followed no matter what. You silently follow that rule no matter what. So whenever you try and change it, so when you try and change that rule of what love is, what love looks like, that's stored in there, what happens is it switches back to the default setting of what is known, okay? And some of those rules that you abide by that you don't agree with, so let's say as an example, some people it's bad behavior, yet you find yourself going along with it. It's because in here you have got stored what love looks like, and love is being followed by that particular rule, not the one that you logically agree with in the external world. Okay, so whenever you try and switch it and you try and change it, and you still find that you're going through this sort of effort of repeating scenarios and patterns, it switches to the default setting of what is known, okay, regardless of whether it's good for you. The rule is what love has been to others in previous generations. So we pass our emotional genetics, not just our DNA. So we pass through the generations our emotional genetics, not just simply our DNA. Okay, so as an example, love might mean rejection. Okay, so that shows now as meeting people who show you, as an example, a lot of attention up front. And you think, wow, you know, this person is engaging, this is what love is, da, da, da. So that might show people who show up with a lot of attention up front, and then they just seem to slope off with no explanation. So how does that happen? Well, it's because their inner love message is, their inner world believes love is dangerous. Okay, so they put it all in and then slope off and disappear. And yours might be, so your rule around love might be, it believes that love leaves you. So love is a burst of something and then it leaves you. So the actual rule behind it is to do with rejection. So how do you solve that? How do you solve that rule? You recognize and resolve the original programming by resetting this. Okay, so by resetting the subconscious, that's how you then solve it, to the extent where then the rule becomes your rule, not you following something that's been set through the generations. So you can even think about that right now. You can think about that right now in terms of what you think might be the love rule that's been set through the generations, the rule that you need to reset here in the subconscious, okay? So that you don't have to keep going by rules that you never made, or even that you now agree with, because those rules may have been survival mechanisms suitable 2-3 generations back, but they're not valued now, yet they keep happening and keep occurring through the generations. Okay, The key is in here, and you reset this vibration. You reset the 9, you reset the subconscious, so it no longer becomes the drama pattern that rules your world. So moving on to number 2, the mental checklist to follow that tells you when someone is truly genuine. How do you know when someone is genuine? You'll always be suspicious, okay? You'll always be suspicious. So harness that rather than think it's a negative. Why will you always be suspicious? Because you've had a lot to do with history where you've trusted and then you've been stamped on, okay? So you'll always be suspicious. It's also something that is very much keyed into who you are in terms of your nervous system. Someone has to kind of prove beforehand, okay? So you'll always be suspicious. So harness that rather than think it's a negative. Harness it positively. You already, as an intuitive sensitive person, sum people up instantly, okay? Usually very accurately. So how come some people get under the radar? So some who start off as very positive in your life, and then they turn out to be your biggest nightmare. I'm sure you can type in and tell me about some of your biggest nightmares, and you think, yeah, actually, it was very positive, and then all of a sudden it turned into this my biggest nightmare. How the earth did that happen? And yes, that really walloped me hard. And so yes, that does absolutely make it impossible for me to trust. So why was that so? What was it that you did? And that may have been something that you've trying to work out for weeks, months, years. What exactly did you do that warranted that? Why were they so fabulous and that you missed it, that they were actually going to be your biggest nightmare you've ever come across? What did you actually do? Nothing. Those biggest nightmares, they actually showed you signs, or they show signs right at the beginning. They absolutely show the signs right at the very essence of the beginning. So how come you missed those signs? You missed those signs because those people morphed into who you wanted them to be. Okay, similar again to our perception, our idealized perception of love. Okay, but still, as an example, with the just using the example isn't always rejection, but it's an easy one to give as an example. So they morphed into who you wanted them to be. Okay, so they tapped into your ideal rather than what was. Okay, so then you only could see the ideal when normally you're very perceptive. They heard your answer to questions. They heard your answer to questions and became what appeals to you. So they adjusted themselves into what appeals to you, which is why and how they began that process of morphing into something that appeals to you. Okay, so they heard your answer to questions and became what appeals to you. Then what they did was they then switched it. They switched it around to manipulate, or they became then disinterested when you were not useful to them. Okay, that's what they did. They either used that, they switched it and then switched it around to manipulate you. So you then are in love with that ideal, or they became just disinterested when you were not useful to them anymore. Okay, and they just disappeared on you. Whilst for you, you're still waiting, okay, for their potential. The times when they were nice. So again, that doesn't have to be a romantic scenario. That can be friendships, that can be work dynamics, that can be family dynamics. So you're still waiting for their potential, the times when they were nice, okay? So to give you an example of that, people on the narcissistic spectrum are spectacularly good at this. I'm saying spectrum because, the kind of narcissistic traits, pathological examples of that are extensive. But people on that narcissistic spectrum are spectacularly good at that. Okay, so they're spectacularly good at morphing into, in the first instance, something that appeals to you. They find your spots, your weak spots. They feed that back to you, and then when you're cooked, so to speak, they will use that to manipulate, and they'll use that, or they'll be disinterested if you're no longer of any use to them, and that's when they wander off, and you think, what on earth happened? So people on the narcissistic spectrum are spectacular at this. So what does that mean? Well, someone who's on that narcissistic spectrum, they'll belittle you, they'll do the things to ignore you, show you huge amounts of attention and then ignore you. They'll find ways and means to criticize you, put you down. They'll have a rage here and there. All of those kind of things for no apparent reason, and you're wondering what on earth you did. And then when they can feel you disengaged, they then turn around and they're the nicest person ever, and then you get back into that cycle of waiting and looking for their potential. Okay, so how do you sidestep these types and connect with the genuine? You become better acquainted with your inner world. That's how you do it. Okay, narcissists actively seek out your self-image and weak spots as far as that's concerned. So they know they know their own self-image and weak spots. Okay, so narcissistic types find it very hard to manipulate people who know theirs. Okay, so people who know their self-image and their weak spots as far as that's concerned, narcissists find that very hard to manipulate. They can't do it because there's nothing to work with, because you would see it immediately. You would see immediately on first meeting them how they were trying to manipulate your self-image and your weak spots, because you would recognize what yours are, and so therefore you would notice immediately when they're doing that, when someone is doing that, and you'll notice then therefore immediately when someone is genuine, because they wouldn't be doing that. But you, and knowing your inner world, knowing it well, narcissists cannot manipulate your self-image and weak spots, because you know your inner world too much, so they won't even try, and therefore you won't find that they are attracted to you. So your weak spot, for instance, might be suspicion. Okay, just use that as an example. Okay, so your weak spot might be suspicion. You think, well, I'm suspicious of this, I'm suspicious of that. I never get caught out because I don't trust anyway, so I'm not going to get caught out as far as that's concerned. So your weak spot might actually be suspicion. Okay, therefore, what do they know? They know then to morph into genuine. Okay, so they will be the most genuine person that you have ever come across, you've ever met, and you think, wow, where did this person come from? They know me exactly. This is the most fantastic interaction, all of this kind of stuff, because they know that your weak spot is suspicion. Therefore, they've morphed into something that you want. Okay, so therefore that becomes the genuine. So when you know your own spots clearly, and you know your own weak spots without shame, your radar becomes more accurate. Okay, your radar becomes a lot more accurate. So your mental checklist should be on meeting. Do they feel overly attentive? Okay, but at the same time, weirdly distant. If you ask yourself that question, you'll start to get really clear answers, and think of those people in your life that maybe you've had some kind of narcissistic interaction with, where you felt, whoa, okay, yes, I think I have been on the receiving end of this. And by the way, narcissists are very interested, are very connected to intuitive sensitives. Why? Because they love that empathic side, because it's easy to utilize for their own means, because they need it in life. And so they utilize it, and so they actually do seek you and search you out. So to protect yourself from that, this is how you do it. So when you're on meetings and you think, do they feel overly attentive? And at the same time, some kind of weirdly distant? If your answer to that is yes, then you are interacting with someone who's not genuine, okay? And the next question that you need to ask yourself is, if you kind of get a weird feeling on the first one, is, am I meeting this person at a vulnerable time in my life? Okay, because narcissistic energies definitely go looking for those who are going through something in their life and are feeling vulnerable at that particular time. And are they too enthusiastic to show up just how much your life and your values match? Are they a little bit too enthusiastic and showing that up, or how everything matches? The genuine will take their time in knowing you. Okay, now that's something that's really important to remember as far as relationships are concerned. The genuine will take their time in knowing you. So moving on to number 3, what feeling appreciated looks like without feeling guilty for enjoying it. I'm going to give you an example of this. Okay, so this lady I know, Kate, okay, is very appreciated by those she knows, absolutely, completely appreciated by those that she knows. She's very kind. And if you ever ask, she's the first to do, she's the first one there, okay? She offers help. If you think in life, who's your 2 a.m. in trouble call? This is Kate, okay? That she's one of those people, and I'm sure that you are the 2 a.m. in trouble call for a lot of people in your life. So she's deeply appreciated by her friends, particularly her friends, okay? But when her friends show her their appreciation, she disappears for days, okay, weeks even. Why? Why does she do that? Because, she explained to me, she feels she doesn't deserve the appreciation. She's just, in her mind, she's just doing what anyone else would do. That's the typical scenario. She's pretty typical, which is, I was just doing what anyone else would do. And it takes her weeks to return to normal. So when she gives help and she feels appreciated, that's what she does. Oh, anyone else, anyone would have done that. And it takes her weeks to return to normal. She disappears on them, as though the appreciation is a big blow. It's some kind of big blow to her. So why does she do this? Because Kate was told early in her life not to get too big for her boots. Okay, that's an expression I think we've all heard at some point. Don't get too big for your boots. She was told consistently at an early age not to get too big for her boots. Every time she got kind of excited about something or felt that she had was feeling appreciated for something, don't get too big for your boots. And she was also told not to draw attention to herself. So every time there was a risk of attention as a child in Kate's life, the main adult, or adults actually around her, obviously one in particular, but the main adults around her would sulk. Okay, if every time there was a risk of attention for Kate as a child, the main adults around her would sulk. Or they made a derogatory comment. And sometimes it went way beyond, or don't get too big for your boots. But it was along those lines. So for Kate, everything was wound up in a shame. Okay, so there was wound up in a shame for receiving attention. So Kate therefore found her unconscious world reacting to positive attention. So when you feel like this, how do you acquire positive attention and feel fine about it? You deal with the defense strategy, okay, the inner programming, which might have been a sensible emotional survival mechanism in childhood. So it might have been a sensible emotional mechanism in childhood to kind of shy away from feeling appreciated because it wasn't safe, because it upset the main adult, like did for Kate's life. So in adult years, though, it keeps you unconsciously, though, looking for negative. So it keeps you unconsciously then looking for negative rather than positive attention. So now, I hope that, you know, those 3 points have been really quite helpful to you. So now in a moment, I shall be doing some readings and answering your questions. Okay, so, you know, hopefully you're putting plenty of things into the chat so that I've got things to have a look at. So just to answer a couple of questions before I go into the main part of answering your questions. Okay. So Sharon is saying, Heidi, are narcissists frequently faux rescuers? Yes, those faux rescuers are frenemies, which I'll explain a little bit further on. As far as that's concerned, what those are, I'm sure you kind of know what that sort of means. Those who show up as friends but are in actual fact enemies. So yes, they can be faux rescuers, definitely, because, you know, they can be faux rescuers for the simple reason that that's your weak spot, is that you are too independent, that you're too kind of self-caring, as in you take care of yourself, that you have to be very independent, that you don't accept help from other people, and really your weak spot is being rescued, being taken care of. So what do? They then morph into your ideal rescuer. So yeah, absolutely, that can show as a situation. So okay, in a moment I shall be doing some readings and answering your questions. So absolutely, you know, keep putting them in, typing them in. Let me know if you know, what I've said so far has resonated with you, whether it all makes sense to you. So first, though, I want to ask, I want to show you, if that's okay with you, how to take what I've shown you deeper. Okay, so there isn't enough time in these sessions to go beyond the surface of what to do. But you now at least feel that you have a starting place. You've got a place to start from, and you've got certain areas that you can have in mind as far as some of these strategies are concerned. It's a starting place, okay? So how do you, though, recognize and resolve the original programming by resetting the unconscious? How do you do that? Well, when you've had a lifetime of feeling unworthy of accepting help, this is something that you know, how do you do it? How do you reset that unconscious? You do it by working through the energy of the inner critic. Okay, in order to reset this, you have to work through the energy of the inner critic. Now, this isn't just, as I said to you at the beginning of the session, this isn't just a whimsical idea. This is something that I have actively done. Okay, I have actively done this very strongly to work through this. It's not a whimsical thing that that I'm actually saying. So you have to work through this energy of the inner critic. So your inner critic dictates the quality of your self-esteem and your worth, and how that operates in relationships. It wears you down, and it keeps you awake worrying, okay, and holds up your path moving forward. So why? Because it tells you whatever you do, you'll never satisfy it. But I absolutely have a way to help you solve that. It's a mini course. It's called Free to Be Me. Release the pressure of the inner critic. So people think that mind training takes years of meditation and mind calm, okay? Whereas the truth is, the absolute truth as far as that's concerned, is the subconscious has the power to release old unwanted patterns in an instant. Doesn't have to be something that takes forever. It's like a bubble coming up to the surface, and then you either have the choice to pop that bubble or swallow it back down again. Now, most people in life swallow it back down again and pretend it's not there. For you, as an intuitive sensitive, you know it's there, okay? And it may come up and you may not know what to do with it, whether you're supposed to do something with it or swallow it back down. But for you to be listening to me right now, it's something that you've been in a quandary over, okay? So this mini course is a powerful tool to do just that, which is to pop that bubble, okay? And in this instance, that bubble that you're popping is the inner critic. So what is this mini course? It consists of a video coaching series, an exercise, and a meditation, okay? My meditations are known for being very powerful and getting to the core of things very quickly. Why are they known for that? Because these are things, as I said to you, I give you stuff that I have done myself. This is my way of having solved my own inner world. I know that this particular way of doing things works for an intuitive sensitive. Okay, and I've helped thousands of intuitive sensitives worldwide over 20 years. I know that this is how this operates, and it's the quickest route for you to reveal, unpeel, solve, and move on from things. It doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for non-sensitives. For you to be listening to me right now, you are one. You don't need to be questioning that, because anything that I've been saying to you still resonates with you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me. Okay, so the mini course consists of a video coaching exercise and a meditation that you will be able to complete, if you want to, within a week. So when you have completed the course, you will be able to spot when the inner critic has taken over. Okay, so when this subconscious, this 9 energy has taken over, okay, we mostly don't notice it. We don't notice the inner critic because it's so blended with our own voice. Okay, it's very blended with our own voice. And so that inner critic has a different voice. And what you'll do within this course is ascertain the difference between your own and the inner critics. And you might think, well, actually, my inner critic's really loud and clear. It may well be, but there will be another one. If it was that loud and clear, you would be doing something with it. It's that subtle one that's behind that rules the roost. Okay, and that's the one that you're dealing with in this little course. Okay, you also feel better able to accept appreciation and know when it's safe to accept help, rather than think that something is coming from a narcissist perspective. Okay, when you think, should I, shouldn't I, should I be suspicious here, what's going on, you'll begin to actually really understand when you can do that, and you'll know how to spot the frenemies ahead of it happening and heal the hurt from times when it has. What are frenemies? They are people who turn up in your life as friends, and sometimes the biggest, greatest friends ever, but when you need help, they've gone, disappeared, last person on earth that you imagine to have done a disappearing act on you. That's what a frenemy is. They are the people who you may spend a lot of time around, but you don't feel good when they've gone. Those are frenemies, and it's not your imagination that it's there. So the mini course will be more than an hour of my time and knowledge, absolutely more than an hour of time and knowledge, distilled into an easy to follow step-by-step process, okay, to help you attract more authentic people into your life and notice where they already are. So I, as an example, currently charge £250 an hour, and I'm always very busy with clients who want me to help them on a one-to-one basis, okay? I'm not charging you £250 to help you with so much as far as this is concerned, and so much of the same information. This mini course has been valued at £33, okay, but you get it for free as a Circle member, okay? So what's the benefit of being a Circle member? The benefits are, in short, they are your dilemmas solved. It is about you healing old wounds from the past. It's also about you feeling understood, okay? Your life questions answered, very much answered. So how does that work? Well, it works with live sessions that I do specifically only for members. This is not a member session, by the way. This is a masterclass. It's not a member session. So with live sessions, they're only for members only, and I do those twice a month. Those are sealed members only live sessions that I do. Now, if you think, well, you know, Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, I'm not always around, 7 p.m. GMT, I'm not always around. Well, you're around now, and the fact is that if you can't do live sessions, which you won't be able to all the time, you can absolutely put your questions in ahead of the live sessions, which quite a few people do, is they will put their questions in ahead of the live sessions, which you have absolutely ability to do. I answer those in those live sessions, and then when you are then available, you can then listen to or watch the replay and find that your question is on there and it's been answered. And if your question hasn't been answered exactly in the way that you asked it, you will find that somebody else asked your question anyway, and probably asked it in a deeper way than you were going to, or even thought to. And actually, that answer to that question is 10 times more helpful. Members find that all the time. And even if you're not on those live sessions, the whole, because the members, it's a community of people, okay? It's very similar people. And what happens when you're in a collective field of same types of people, you have the same kinds of issues or things coming up in your life at the same time, and you'll be amazed how that more, I'm not going to use that word morph because you've got that in another context, but how it merges together as a collective, okay? And you'll be amazed at how that collective is always really relevant to your life in terms of that synchronicity and it all coming together. So even if you can't make every live session, or you only manage to make some here and there, you will find that you still have the same benefit, okay, as if you were on live or if you were watching replays. You also get, as a member, or how do you get these things? You get my world-known meditations and processes. My meditations and processes are known in 121 countries. Now, in the members, I'm very biased towards members, okay? Members get more of me than anybody else does. Okay, but it's all within the members area. And you'll want, those meditations and processes because it's fast development without you even having to think how to. Okay, I've already done the thinking for you. You also get a state-of-the-art, absolutely state-of-the-art, easy to use members area. Extremely easy to use. And that's very important because as an intuitive sensitive person, you need things uncluttered to avoid overwhelm. Most certainly, our intention as far as our facilities are concerned is all geared towards absolutely the intuitive sensitive person. All of this within the comfort of your own home. So if you are still, as an example, wondering where to find authentic people, you think, well, where are authentic people? They are in the circle, okay? You will find that those people are in there. There's that whole saying that, your experience of the world is the 5 people that you spend time with the most. Well, if that needs adjusting, you will find, or you want, that to be of a higher nature than it currently is, then you will find that there, those people, if you're looking for authenticity, kindness, decency, people who are very much like you, who get you, that's where you'll find them. Okay, they're in the circle. So there are members on this particular session now that I'm sure, if you type in and you say, oh, who's a member, tell me, what is it, or you've got questions as far as that's concerned, type it in, they'll tell you, whatever you want to know the answers to, okay? And they'll tell you more of what the benefits are. So alternatively, this page I'm about to send you to has absolutely a very comprehensive section as far as that's concerned, dedicated to the circle on what is included as part of your member benefits, okay? If you really like the sound of the circle, then I'm going to encourage you to prepay for 12 months of access. And I'm going to tell you why that you want to do that. Okay, you want to do that because when you prepay for 12 months, I will also give you the bonus, Never Be Caught Out, how to protect yourself from narcissistic personalities as an intuitive sensitive. Now, you'll want this because you'll never want to be caught out by a narcissistic energy again. Okay, so why is it only as a bonus as far as the 12-month membership is concerned? Because moving yourself on from narcissistic energies, understanding them, and really kind of feeling that you can feel confident within how you move forward as far as that's concerned isn't an overnight job, okay? It is something that takes time, and it takes interaction, and it takes for you to have continual support. So that's why it is something that I'm placing in there as a bonus for people who are purchasing a 12-month membership of the circle. Okay, so that's suitable if you've ever felt controlled, devalued, lied about, raged at for no particular reason, micromanaged, and now you're finding it difficult to accept help in case there are consequences. And those of you who've been on the receiving end of that will know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've had those as your experience, you've been on the receiving end of a narcissist. Narcissists are emotionally destroying and drain the life from you. They absolutely drain the life from you. Why do I know how to heal this? Why do I even know about it? Because I come from the circumstances of consistent emotional aggression. Okay, I was told each day of my life, in no uncertain terms, I would never amount to anything, be anyone, and no one would want me, unless, of course, I changed. Changed into what? I'm still not sure what I was supposed to change into, but whoever and whatever I am, it was always completely unacceptable. Okay. Today, I've become the person I wanted to meet. I became the person I would have liked helping me on my route, and certainly helping me when I was trying to come to terms with realizing that it wasn't me, okay, that the problem wasn't me. And it took a very long time because it's been something that has been part of my life for my entire life. That is, it's no, I'm actually toning it down as far as my expression is concerned. But if you've been on the receiving end of something similar, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I developed a community, therefore, of authentic people. Okay, where there are more people with the same values. So my intuitive capabilities became exceptionally high as a survival mechanism. I couldn't survive my environment without them being very high. So today I use them very positively. So what I have to offer is it's not just a theory, okay? It's a lifetime's worth of experience. And the circle is where you'd have access to that experience. There's only so much for me to go around, and therefore that's where my energy is the most, okay? The circle though isn't for everyone, okay? It's not for everyone. And I only want people in there who want to progress, okay, and that they want to thrive in their intuitive capabilities, and they want to seek to honor and heal their inner wounds. If that is something that you're wanting, I'd love to see you in there. If that's not what you're up to, it's not for you, okay? And I am keen on people who want to do that, to thrive in their capabilities, seek to honor their inner and heal their inner wounds, regardless of whether they currently feel good enough. So if you're going through that kind of thought process, well, I really like to, but I don't feel good enough. I don't care that you don't feel good enough. Okay, that's part of the wound that you're healing. Okay, I'm interested in people who want to, and they want to push themselves regardless. That was me, however many years ago, 20 whatever years ago. That was me, and I had all that enthusiasm, but I certainly didn't feel anywhere near good enough. Okay, so if that resonates with you, then you are suitable as a circle member. If it doesn't, absolutely, it's not something that's for you. So if that does resonate with you, the circle has 2 joining options. Okay, so you've got monthly or prepay for 12 months. Now, as I say, if the narcissist scenario is something that is strong for you, then I really do encourage you to go for the 12-month option, because you need that time. Okay, you need that time, and you need that commitment as far as that time is concerned. So the investment in yourself for the monthly membership is only £19.97, or you can prepay for the year at £200, and that is effectively saving you, as far as the prepay option, is 2 months. Okay, that's 2 months over 12 months time. So that's not what we're offering as far as this is concerned. So, however, as part of this promotion, I have reduced both options to you. Okay, so instead of £19.97 as part of this particular webinar, this particular promotion, that £19.97 is reduced to a £15 a month option, and instead of the £200 for a year, 12 months, that is reduced to £150. Okay, so I know that you think, oh, I'm scared of committing to a monthly charge, I'm not sure I want to do that. In perspective though, what we're actually talking about is the equivalent of the cost of, let's say, 6 coffees or hot chocolates from your favorite coffee shop over a period of a month. It's six cups of coffee, 6 cups of hot chocolate. Okay, that's what it is in terms of the cost, in terms of perspective. So even if you just think for a second, okay, how your life would look in 1 year if all you do is, as an example, turn up to 2 live events a month. If you can't do that, there are replays, and you do absolutely have the opportunity to put your questions in if you're not able to make live sessions, and look at the replays. Okay, bearing in mind what I said, as far as that you are then part of a collective feel, and you will find that the subject areas that are for the live sessions are always highly relevant to you, because you are part of something that is a collective. Okay, and how, if you think as well how your life can be if you listen to, as an example, 3 meditations a week. They're short, the short ones in the circle. They are completely unique to the circle, and that you completed a mini course here and there, such as the one that's about to be put in there, which is the inner critic one. Okay, do you think that your life would be enhanced? Do you think that actually it might well be quite significantly enhanced? Do you think you then have more clarity? And do you think that you would feel that it's much more comfortable in terms of moving towards your sense of purpose? Bearing in mind that everything that we do is very centered around sorting the inner world. Do you think it would make a difference? What if along that journey you also met some other authentic people and made friends? What would that be worth to you? What would that be worth to you? The price of a hot drink every so often. Would that be worth something to you? I'm actually, in actual fact, going in a couple of months' time to a wedding of someone who met at one. There were intuitive sensitives who met via me. Okay, I'm going to a wedding in a couple of months. This is how, these friendships. I'm not saying you're going to meet a potential husband or wife, but these people did. They did. That this is, an area of you developing. I'm very protective over the members, okay, because it is about it being a supported and supportive kind of comfy feeling of you can be who you are and you can grow who you are and feel that that's a safe environment to do that. It's a safe environment to feel that you're part of something. And these people did, and they've been happy for years, and now they're getting married. So we also have a cancel at any time policy, which you can do. You can cancel that at any time. And we also have, if you're on the monthlies, and we also have a 30-day money back guarantee. There is absolutely no risk. We're not tying you into anything. There's no risk, none whatsoever. So if you think it's not a fear of committing, okay, to a subscription, because that's that's something that you can kind of offset in your mind if what I'm talking about resonates with you. It's not fear of committing to a subscription, or it's not a fear of having the time, etc., etc. Whatever it is that we make up in our minds as to why we can't do something. What it is, it's your fear of committing to yourself. Okay, it's your fear of something changing and something being different, fearing a life that you may not recognize. Okay, what is it without struggle? What does it look like without struggle? It might actually be something that you haven't really fully contemplated. So if you're thinking, well, I'm not sure, I'm frightened, that's why you're frightened, because you don't know what life is without struggle. Or you don't know what life is without feeling part of something that where people get you, they understand you, and they're there for you. So it's decision time. Okay, if you like the sound of the course, Free to Be Me, Release the Weight of the Inner Critic, with the value of £33, you need to join the circle to have it added to your account for free. Okay, you need to join the circle in order to have it added to your account for free. This course is free to members. Okay, so if that resonates with you, then click on the link. Okay, so the link there, it's right in front of you, or visit HeidiSawyer.com/AP. Okay, so HeidiSawyer.com/AP. Okay, AP stands for authentic people. Okay, so now on to your questions. I'm now going on to having a look at your questions and some of these areas that you would like me to answer. Okay, these can be questions about your life, and these can be questions that most certainly about this session. Okay, so just bear with me a second whilst I receive a screen with them on. Okay, so Susie, And there may be a number of narcissists right now watching to perfect their mastery. Interesting point, Susie. I would say it's highly unlikely, because they wouldn't, narcissists wouldn't, they wouldn't be attracted in terms of affording that time, etc. I personally don't attract them, because I've had to work in very much through that energy as part of my entire life experience. So, but a very interesting point, Susie. Yes. Okay. So let me just have a look at some of your questions. Okay. So just bear with me a second. Just waiting for the screens to come up. Don't be shy. Type them in. Okay, so Wendy is saying, do they know they are frenemies? No. Well, yes and no. Okay. The reason being is because a lot of frenemy behavior is set by here, the subconscious. So in actual fact, a lot of frenemy behavior is actually triggered by situations that that are part of someone's unconscious. So people who are narcissistic, who are people who are jealous, so people who get very jealous of things, what is that fueled by? What is that fired by? Well, it's actually fired by parts of things that they are not acknowledging. So narcissists, as an example, what they're actually doing, they're actually really quite cowardly and afraid people, and in actual fact, they're really quite damaged. And you think, well, should I feel sorry for them, blah, blah, blah. Well, the fact is that they will do whatever they possibly can in order to avoid, to do whatever they can possibly to avoid you noticing that they have a level of insecurity or vulnerability or self-esteem issues. And so they don't want anyone to know about this. Okay, they don't want anyone to know, but they've got these things, so they'll do whatever they can to hide them. So it's similar with frenemies, which is they turn up as friends, and then as soon as you've got a problem, they're gone. Why do they do it? Because it's uncomfortable. Because they're uncomfortable. Something is too close to something within themselves that they're not dealing with and that they're not honest about. And so it can be at lines of jealousy. It can be things where people don't feel happy for somebody else, all of those kind of things, because of their own inadequacy or their own unowned inadequacy. With intuitive sensitives, we do at least own our inadequacy. We do actually say, all right, we do own up to it. We can't not, because our nervous system says, well, actually, hello, we need to own up to this. Whereas for most people, they can choose to, bury it in the bucket of denial and hope that it just, if we ignore it, it goes away. But for us, it's impossible, because it keeps going, pop, that bubble keeps going, whoa, what are you going to do with it? Oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. Am I supposed to do something with it, or do I swallow it? And it goes on and on and on and on until you're at this point, which is you're now thinking, well, I need to do something with it. People who don't or won't will maybe take themselves so far, and then they swallow it and they're gone, because they don't want to adjust. They don't want to take responsibility for. We do, as intuitive sensitives, we do find ourselves taking responsibility for, but at the same time, we might carry quite a lot of hurt, okay? Hurt that somehow or another we feel is our responsibility, but it's actually something we can't move forward whilst we're still carrying it. So it is a case of adjusting that. So Wendy, to answer your question, do they know they're frenemies? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But sometimes it's all about carry, if you think about what buckets people carry, and they might carry their shame bucket around. Okay, they might carry their jealousy bucket around. They might have all kinds of things in that bucket, and they don't want anyone to look in. Okay, so frenemies go, oh no, this is too close to something, and they run away with their bucket. But for you, as an intuitive sensitive, you're more curious about what's in that bucket. Okay, and you're a bit more curious as to help other people because you've got that strong empathic nature. You don't judge other people's buckets. Okay, and what happens is you get really, we all do, we get really upset when our bucket is judged, because we don't do that to other people. Not because we, suddenly get into a rage about something. It's because we think we're not worthy of our bucket not being judged. Okay. Okay, so this is Leslie. Heidi, when I'm around my daughter-in-law, she hates me, I get panic attacks and feel frozen, as if I can't move. It's only happening when I've done something that makes her jealous. What can I do to deal with this? Again, Leslie, what you're doing is you're triggering what's in her bucket. Okay, so in her bucket is she's got in that bucket fear of abandonment. Okay, so what she's doing, when her fear of abandonment is triggered in that bucket, what she does is she goes, stuff that one down, because Leslie then indicates that my partner loves Leslie, and so therefore if he then loves Leslie, that means he's not going to love me, because there's only room. So her love rule is there's only room for one person to be loved. So I'm jealous. So what I need to do is get rid of that person. So I need to get rid of that other person that could be possible competition. Okay, so how that is adjusted is about you, Leslie, finding your love rule. Okay, whereas there's only room to love one person, so that's going to be a parental thing, that will be a childhood thing that goes on inside your own inner world, which is the rule was one parent had to be number one. Okay, because they had a fear of abandonment. Is for you to figure which parent that was, access that emotion, dissolve it from your own inner world, so that you don't trigger it in your daughter-in-law's. So she won't be able to react. Okay, she won't be able to react to that level that she has been. Okay, but that's her thing, is that she thinks there's only room for one person in terms of the person that she loves. Okay, and that's where she, and her massive fear will be abandonment. Okay, and that's why she does it. Karen, if relationships have only meant pain in the past, does this transform when we are truly able to love ourselves? Yes, in my opinion, Karen. I can only, I can give you from my own perspective. My past has been very much about, the people who meant to love you the most. Mine, I can't say to you in any honest way that it was consistent, and I certainly can't say to you that it was that I felt that it was there. It may have been there as a kind of undertone, maybe, but what was actually communicated was consistent belittling, consistent everything that was wrong with me. Okay, so that for me was a huge amount of pain, and that was a huge amount of pain that I then absolutely took into my adult years. But and then that was obviously worked through as far as other dynamics and relationships are concerned. But what I can tell you is, when I then worked through that as far as my inner world is concerned, does it change? Yes, it does. Okay, because I can tell you that I have what many would describe as the idealized life and say, you know, oh, it's right for you, Heidi, you've got this and you've got that. Well, yes, I have, but it hasn't come by accident. You know, I've been very happily married for 14 years. And I would say most people worry that their marriage deteriorates over time. I would say ours increases and improves over time. Why? Because it is about that work as far as the inner world is concerned. I have 2 lovely children. Okay, and you could say, oh, well, it's all right for you, Heidi, you've got these lovely children that love you. Well, I worked at that. I worked hard at that, and I didn't work in terms of it being kind of that they love me because I make them dependent. It's because of my own wounds, etc. They love me because I give them a space to be them. Okay, and the reason I'm able to do that because of the inner work, as far as the love for the self is concerned. So yes, in my opinion, absolutely, it does. You can't love another until you love yourself. And I learned that, and I learned that in a very strong way. Okay, and so yes, I know it's tough if there's been a vicious circle, because painful, rotten relationships, particularly in your own experiences with your parents, are the reasons for a lack of self-love, worth. It is so hard. What you're saying here, Karen, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. But there has to come a point where you choose for it to be different. And there was a point in my life where I chose for that to be different. Okay, and that is, and what I give you is the ways and means that I chose for that to be very different. And I can absolutely say to you 100% that I have a very decent marriage. I have a very decent husband. I have lovely children, and every relationship in my life, every person that I absolutely have an interaction with are delightful. Okay, I don't have anyone who is problematical in my life. Anything where it's sort of, of course there are potentials for different things to be where people are problematical, etc. That energy is shifted out, and that I am unafraid to make those adjustments, and that is because of the inner work. Okay, I can't actually tell you that it's for any other reason, because I've got no examples of how that could be for other than that particular reason. So what I'm saying to you, Karen, is that work is worth it. And yes, there very much is that feeling of being left or abandoned, or kind of drifting in this sort of no man's land, can't go back, and it's difficult to go forward. So you feel like you're wandering around in this desert of nothingness. But what I'm saying to you is that effort to make that move across is worth it. Absolutely worth it, even though there are times where it feels outrageously painful. There were years ago I went through an experience where I literally felt that my inside had been pulled out, stripped down, turned inside out, incredibly uncomfortable, and somehow shoved back in again. Horrific feeling, horrific experience. But in actual fact, it was the best cleansing and clearing experience I've ever had. And what you have to accept is that your system will give you what you can cope with. Okay, it will give you the ability to move something. Okay, as far as what you can cope with. There's lots of questions here about narcissists, quite interesting. So this is Siobhan. Hi Heidi, can you confront a narcissist and tell them they are a narcissist? Is it worth it? Absolutely do not do that, Siobhan, because part of their thing is that they will do whatever they can to protect the fact that they don't want anyone to know that they have got these vulnerabilities and these things going on. It is absolutely not worth it. You can confront that energy in a very different way than having to confront them face on. What you're actually then saying, Siobhan, is that you're hurt, and you need them to know that you're hurt. If you confront them on that, they will just, again, it's utilizing something and then twisting it up and throwing it back at you, which was probably what's happened to you previously, and that's what you're on the receiving end of right now, as far as that's concerned. Okay, Siobhan. So it's not worth it, because it will cause you more pain than it solves. Okay, there are other ways and means of sidestepping it, moving around it, but that takes time, because narcissistic energy is very appealing. It can be very appealing. Okay, they have a powerful way of keeping people there, kind of under the thumb, working away, doing as they tell them. It's very powerful. So the actual maneuvering yourself out of those situations, especially if it's something that's very relevant in your life, takes time, because it can only happen, in my view, with the building of your own inner worth. Now, just to sort of expand on that narcissist energy, because you're asking quite a lot of questions around narcissists. To expand on that, if you look at things in terms, there are different levels of narcissistic behavior. Okay, someone with a narcissistic personality disorder is an absolute awful nightmare. Okay, the different layers of it, different levels of a spectrum. Okay, so some people can be lightly narcissistic, some can be pathologically narcissistic, some can be sadistic with it, so enjoy kind of hurting, tormenting, and almost smile at the thought of destroying somebody. So there's different layers of it, different versions of it, and it's not about then hating that person, etc. It's about resolving your own inner process so that person's energy doesn't impact you. Okay, Sharon, Heidi, does being needed feel a bit like being loved? This is confusing me. Absolutely. Yeah, completely. Yes, absolutely. Feeling needed is a bit like feeling loved. Yes, because that you'll be linking that as far as your sense of worth is concerned. But is it love? No. Okay, it's fulfilling a need to be needed. Yes. And if you have quite a strong need to be needed, you then do find yourself quite often mixed up in dramas. Okay, whether they're your own inner drama or somebody else's drama, you find yourself exhausted by those situations, because you do find yourself in that, or dramatic scenarios. So yes, it may even be the love message that passes from your subconscious to your conscious self, which is, well, and this can be something that is related through the generations, etc., and which is, well, that's love. You're only loved if you're needed, and that is a message. When you carry that one, I strongly recommend it is something that you acknowledge and resolve. So Sharon, in you asking that question, you're absolutely 3/4 of the way there, because you're acknowledging that this is something that that happens as far as you're concerned. Okay, so these are thank you for joining me for this this session. So just to remind you, if you haven't had a look at what I'm offering you as far as this course is concerned, if you want to have a look at those details, go to heidisawyer.com /AP. Okay, so go and have a look, see if it's something that resonates with you. Thank you absolutely for your time. Have a great evening, daytime, wherever it is that you are. And I very much look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.